Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Fore Dads Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Hopefully you guys had a fun and safe New Year with friends and family. You got Tees here with Don Julio, and today we are going to start with the Masters. Obviously that it comes up every first week of April. It's probably one of the most prestigious golf tournaments in the world, the only major of the year that's played at the same course every single year, and probably one of the most wanted to be played and most difficult to get on golf courses ever. You know, it's so hard to get onto that golf course. And we definitely want to know your guys' opinions. Do you guys think that the LIV golf players should be able to play in the majors if they're eligible, if they've won before, if they met all the other criteria? But I definitely want to hear Don Julio's thoughts on just the whole theme of what's going to happen. You know, players on LIV playing in the Masters. I would assume, I haven't heard anything, but I would assume Phil would be there this time. I know he wasn't last time because he didn't want to be like a distraction through like the whole Masters tournament. But what do you think about, I know it's a couple months away, but I mean, you can never not really talk about the Masters. You can always talk about the Masters, you know?
Yeah. That's a coming out hot in 2023 with a real touchy subject, I think, for a lot of golf fans and also for the PGA. The fact that all these players have their exemptions and you know, by law are able to play these tournaments. I think it's about to be free picking for the LIV and for these players to essentially poach some of these PGA guys to make a move over to the LIV. You know, I mean, this is first and foremost, I don't think that there will be any types of animosity with any of the players, being that they've competed, they've all grown up playing together at some point, you know, in their careers. But what I think it's going to do is it's going to enable the LIV Tour guys to speak off camera with some of these other guys and saying like, hey, you've been getting after with me for the last 6 years, you know, why don't you do something that's a little bit more guaranteed? You know, you're not missing out on any tournaments. You still have the ability to go on both tours and play. You know, now it's kind of like what Henry Varden, you know, experienced, where he made the move and he was kind of disappointed with like the hate he got because he's such a nice dude, and he's obviously super thankful for everything that he got from the PGA and the process in which it took for him to get there. But ultimately, yeah, you're talking about essentially doing an unpaid internship throughout your entire career leading up to the PGA, to where your money is still not even guaranteed. Mm-hmm. Sports in general have a lot of guaranteed contracts, and I think golf is the only one that still, till this day, doesn't have guaranteed contracts. Even from a sponsorship point of view, you still need to place in a certain area for this sponsor to say, hey, we're going to give you this much, we're going to give you X amount of dollars for the tournament, we're going to pay for everything, we're going to do this, but you need to place within the top 30. Mm-hmm. And, you know, sometimes, as we all know as golfers, shit can hit the fan really quick. And if you have all that pressure to try and place, even as a professional, you know, on maybe your first time playing that course, maybe the conditions are like you and your caddy have never experienced. Maybe they did something a little bit different this year with the way that they rolled or moved the greens around, did something to where, yeah, now you're kind of at the mercy of the course and of your game, which, you know, I think Tees and I can both agree that is why we play golf. Is it's one of the only sports where it's all on you. There's no one else that's going to help you. No one else is going to hit your shot. They're going to tell you where to aim, but ultimately you have to execute on all 3 shots, all 4 shots, all 5 shots. So
right. Yeah, you bring up a good point with the guarantee contracts. You know, I mean, like, that is becoming something that is becoming more of a standard. I feel like it was an MLB baseball that kind of started with the guarantee contracts. I think it might have been, and then it kind of worked its way to the NFL. I think like Kirk Cousins was like one of the first guys to have a fully guaranteed contract when he signed with the Vikings, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. And that was like, oh my gosh, he got a fully guaranteed contract.
I mean, the MLB has always kind of swung guaranteed contracts for, for extended amount of times. But now what you're seeing is, let's just talk about even like we can bring up the Carlos Correa situation, right? The Mets, because of one little thing that they put in their contract, they're committed to $350 million to pay this guy, being that he has PEDs in the system, even though the PEDs don't really matter in the MLB because they don't really test for them. But I think organizations don't want their franchises to have to even worry about it. They don't want it to be of a discussion. But the dude's back is screwed. So not only was he with the Giants, then he went over to who?
He's with the Mets now.
Yeah,
right?
and it was like, Minnesota released him because they knew like, okay, he's only going to be good for 1 year. Goes with the Giants for 7 minutes. Also, the Giants review.
That was so surprising.
Yeah, it was like, it's the same thing with Judge. But going back to our main point, which is guaranteed contracts, they've always been around. I mean, even for young athletes who get drafted, you are guaranteed if you're signed within the first round. I think it's somewhere around $1 million or something like that for some. If you're in the top 10, then it gradually starts to go down. Now, for other sports, I don't know. But as far as where the guaranteed contract started, I think here in the Americas, for sure, it definitely started with. I feel confident saying that I believe baseball definitely kind of set the tone for it. Yeah. But I know, like in like the Premier League in Europe, it's always been a place for soccer where, if you're that dude, if you're that franchise, that club, that number one club guy, they're going to take care of you.
Right.
Because they want to keep you there, because just like everything else in sports, it's all about how many butts can you put in a seat. So if you're that guy who's bringing in all that, all the fans, they're going to give you a little bit more of a cut because of how much you're generating.
Right.
But golf. Golf has always been that sport
that's been lagging for sure. And I feel like people don't understand, like you see like the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, the people that play for like the Tom Brady's, people that play for 20 years, or even Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. But, like people that play for 20 years and think that that's a standard, that, like everyone plays for 10 to 15 years. But the amount of like the percentages of like people that play for like 1 to 2 years, and either they get injured and they're never the same, something happens, mentally, physically, family emergency, something that can just throw them off. They're not used to so much money at one time, that they blow it, all this stuff, all these outside things that could like ruin your career. The average, I would say, is about like 2 to 4 years in like any professional sport. And you need to get the main thing that people don't realize is you need to get that money as much as you can, because you do not know if tomorrow's guaranteed. Like, how many Tiger Woods are there going to be? Never again. You'll probably have one every other generation, and unless you're him, you have, the sponsorships of Nike, you have the video game contracts, you have the extra guaranteed money that would still put you number one in the world with money made without any of the tournaments that you won, comparing to anyone else. And
you bring up a good point. And I don't mean to interrupt, but you bring up a good point. But still, I think the atmosphere that surrounded Tiger coming into the PGA is one that we will probably never see until Charlie gets on tour, or either John Daly Jr.
Right. Yeah, the thing that he added so much money to the purses.
But you have to remember too, the thing that really ignited Tiger's career, and I think, well, I don't want to say his career. His career was ignited when he was like 15 years old, and he already had won like 200 freaking AGA tournaments and whatever. But the way he came on tour, his first tournament, he blew everyone away with how far he was hitting the ball. His control, his putting, his ice cold demeanor where nothing shook him. And everybody who said something, who had doubt, he wanted to make sure he sent you specifically a message by saying, like, say that shit again. You're welcome. I'm going to show you what's up.
Right.
So people knew what was. People who saw it early got into it, like Nike, like all the other brands that Buick that all like worked with him and stuff like that, right? But I think in golf, it's hard. I think it's kind of hard to put guarantees on somebody because the game itself is so difficult. Like, you really don't know where it's at. I mean, could you imagine if, let's just say Victor Hovland again, okay? Kid's still young. He's, or even, here's one better. Let's say Ricky Fowler, okay? Ricky Fowler was an absolute phenomenon when he came.
He blew up on the scene.
Yes. I mean, his loud style, his crazy hair, his flat-billed hats, just his swagger, everything was completely different.
Yep.
Now he got guaranteed contracts from Red Bull, right?
Mm.
Now think of this. Imagine if the PGA or Puma, right? Let's just say Puma said, "Hey, Ricky, we're going to give you guaranteed $30 million a year, right, to rock our stuff, to play our stuff, but you need to win at least one major, each year. You need to play somewhere, bro." Like, he still has yet to win a major. He has a few little tournament wins, but he has yet to win a major. And imagine making that contract and someone not amounting to it, right? Yeah. Which is why when there's guaranteed contracts, even with baseball, with football, with hockey, with basketball, there's all these addendums that you have. Like, anything that could happen, it could go back and it could hurt you. And a perfect example of that is like Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs from the Raiders with the DUI and him, killing that lady, cruising in, or not, I'm not even going to say cruising, but driving ridiculously at 100 something miles an hour to hit that person. Like, dude, the fact that he walked away from that, him and his lady, is insane. But still, that man partying the way he did, not making, supposedly guaranteed that money, he lost it because he, one, he's not able to play, but two, he embarrassed the organization.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it really, just like anything, like you see like a stop sign or you see like a "don't put your hand in here" kind of sign, and 9 times out of 10, there's a reason why they put that there, because someone put their hand in there. Someone did that thing that. Yeah.
It's all trial and error. It's all trial and error. It's all trial and error. Every single one of these new rookies, every single one of these new players, all trial and error.
My high school baseball coach, Casey Candell, played on the Indians. And I think, I don't know if he was on the Indians for this year, but he played with a guy named Brady Anderson. And he ended up getting a massive deal for the Baltimore Orioles. But it was in the mid-'90s. They weren't checking PEDs. Everyone knew this guy was roiding up. He ends, I think it was with the Indians. I think he played for a few other teams, but I think it was the Indians. He roided up for 1 year, his contract year or whatever, 57 home runs, just absolutely dominated, signed a massive contract with the Baltimore Orioles and never hit more than 10 in his career and was paid full out. And you have a situation like that where if you don't have those, not incentives, but little, benchmarks that you got to meet minimum to, unlock this money, you're screwed. You just paid someone that was going to put people in the seats, and within half the year, they're like, "Dude, F this guy. Like, I'm not coming to watch you guys." Like, Brady Anderson was supposed to be the best thing ever. Like, kind of when the Giants signed Barry Zito from the Oakland A's. Like, he was supposed to be a freaking stud, signed him like the biggest contract ever, and he went like 3-18 his first year. Like, what the heck happened? You literally just moved 40 miles or whatever west, and all of a sudden, like, you suck. And the only good thing about guaranteed money is, well, it's guaranteed. So as long as you're playing, like, you don't have to give your all. Some people think that way, not everybody, but it is guaranteed at the end of the day. So hey, I might go on a binger tonight, have a couple extra beers that I normally wouldn't, just because, hey, who cares? Like, I'm getting paid regardless. And but yeah, it's just golf is so difficult in making benchmarks, and because there are so many people that are grinding and everyone's trying so hard, and it's not one of those where things are guaranteed unless you're the top 1%.
Yeah, we're going back into that. It's just how many players are on the field for a golf tournament?
what is it, like 80 to 90 or 100, maybe 150?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But I mean, could you imagine some young kid out of like University of Texas, comes out as like the next Jordan Speed, has a guaranteed contract, doesn't even place in his first 3 years, can't even get past like 80. Like,
Can't make the cut.
And I mean, golf personally would be probably one of the best sports to have guaranteed contracts with, but I think it's more on the marketing side, right?
Yeah.
I would think that players really see a huge amount of money from the marketing side, because golfers are walking billboards, dude. Like, everything they're wearing. Oh, wow. That, I like that. I like that. And going back,
they're always wearing the newest polo that's not out yet. They're wearing the polo, the hat, yep.
No, totally. I mean, and like I said, going back to Ricky, I remember those orange Puma hats were selling. Those orange pants were selling,
flying off the shelves, man. Yep.
People wanted them, and it was more just like, hey, I'm going to the tournament. I want Ricky to see me because I'm dressing up like Ricky. But I guarantee you that's probably where Ricky's money was coming from, was the fact that, hey, he was dedicated to Puma. He did everything that Puma wanted, and then once Puma started kind of coming out with good clubs, he moved away from Titleist and moved over to Puma clubs, and he gets dividends off of everything that's sold from there, or residuals, or whatever it may be, but I don't know, man. I think seeing guaranteed contracts would in the PGA right now would be tough, because there is so many people coming out. But now with the PGA and LIV, the PGA may need to start doing something to say, hey, we will give you X amount of dollars for this, because we just want you to continue. We want you to be on the PGA Tour, not go.
Well, I feel like it might not be as difficult as one might think. If you go, hey, top 20, top 15, top 10 in FedEx Cup standings at the end of the year, get automatic guarantee contracts, kind of like, what is it, like the Supermax in the NBA? Like, you have to make the All-Pro team or the All-NBA team 1 or 2 years to be eligible for this Supermax contract. Otherwise, sorry, like, you can't get as much money just because you blew up too late. Like, you had to actually have proof that you're worth this money. And otherwise, there's no reason to do it, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, kind of sucks for NBA players. They really got to show out. Otherwise, they're not going to get the money that an MLB guy that had a great year 5 years ago, oh, he's just thrown $20 million because he's a pitcher, just for a 1-year contract that's guaranteed. But I feel like you might be able to throw something like that, like top 15, top 20, tier it up however you want.
I still think that's really hard. Like,
it's not gonna be easy. It's got to be a year thing, like guaranteed for next year. But that's it. Like, it has to be by year.
And see, I think the difference, and also another big thing, would be like, okay, if we're talking about LeBron James, right? Probably one of the greatest generational basketball players of our existence right now. Right. I mean, everyone talks about, Michael's the GOAT. In my opinion, because I saw Michael playing, yes, Michael is the GOAT in my book. But as a generational difference, yes, LeBron stands ahead of everyone else. And Shaq said it best. Once he passes Kareem in the points, there's no more discussion. He is the best player. But the big thing about golf, and I'm going to compare it to basketball. Who your franchise player is because, one, they can take control of the game, right? There's a big difference in golf. If you don't got it straight, but 6 inches between the ears, you're in quicksand. You just keep sinking. You keep sinking, and it gets hard because you're pressing. We've all been there. It doesn't matter if you're a professional or even a guy who just started a few weeks ago. You hit that one good shot where you're like, yeah, starting off great. You get in the fairway and you're like, oh, it's a little bit uncomfortable shot, and it's a little bit of an uncomfortable number, but I got to commit. And if you don't commit, you're shanking it into some old lady's teeth that's on the right side. You hook it into some dude's knee who's on the left side, or you freaking miss the green or go OB, like something, and then all of a sudden that messes with you, because then you're asking yourself, how does that happen? What just happened? And you're so stuck in that moment. You have to think you have 125 yards. Maybe if it's a long par 5, you got 230 yards to kind of get that shit out of your head before you get to your next shot. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing too, is I feel like it's hard to say, hey, here's a guaranteed contract for this. Go play, go have fun, go do whatever, compared, or if you're not somebody who can take control of their game, and professional or not, it's hard to have that type of mental control. And I think that's the difference between an individual sport compared to a team sport where you have that one guy who
you can
let him run with it. Go have fun.
Exactly. I mean, I was just thinking, like, in the NBA, you're in a controlled environment in the sense where, like, it's always going to be the same, about the same temperature. There's no wind. It's indoors always. You have golf. Well, right. But you have golf, and like there are so many different types of grass, for the greens, so many different types of grass that they play on. For I don't even know the names or how to pronounce some of these grasses. You have cold environments, you have the wet environments, you have hot and wet environments, you have hot and dry environments. Some people, I feel like for whatever reason, like for example, why I'm bringing this up. Colin Morikawa, played at Cal, used to the Bay Area cold. I saw a little thing on him, playing with a beanie, playing just at Cal, some cooler weather. Won his first major at what was that San Francisco course for the championship?
TPC Harding.
Yeah, won the first TPC Harding. I remember I picked him on DraftKings. I was like, hey, you know what? I don't know. He's used to the cold weather. He's played in the Bay Area. I would assume that, he's got a good chance, and he won it there. And then he won the Open, cold weather as well, cold and windy, over in UK for his second major. And I don't know if that has a correlation. I'd have to really dig to look at the analytics to see how he does in warmer tournaments. But I was just like, hey, maybe that might have an effect on some people more than others. You also have fans, different fans are going to be there every single day that you are literally looking at. You hear every shot. A phone that might, like you said, all it can take is one bad shot that could literally ruin your day. And it could be from one idiot who forgot to turn his ringer off and had it on loud and right in your backswing, unless you have that control like Tiger Woods does. If you've seen like those clips where like he's mid-swing and he just stops and he has that like mental control while everyone else is like, screw it, I'm already at the top. I'm going to finish this swing. I don't care. Like, it's not going to mess me up, but 9 times out of 10 it does. Like, it's so hard to do that. And one swing can mess up your whole tournament because you can just snowball. And even if you are good in between the ears, all it takes is one bad shot and a second shot not as good, and it can snowball. And it's a weekend to weekend game. Where like it's so different. Every environment is so different. Every course is different. You might play better on hilly course. You might play better on flat. You might play worse with trees around. You might play better with more open. There's just that's what I love about golf. Honestly, is just the fact that every course is different, almost to the T. You might have a few that try to like emulate another pro course or a famous course, but for the most part, they're their own course and. You're not going to be like a blacktop is the same at every single basketball court. It's going to have a double rim with a crappy, net and a really hard, backboard. But like for the most part, golf courses are all different. That's just the beauty of it. That's why I love just playing at a random course. Sometimes you're like, what am I going to get? Let's find out. Let's have at it.
No, I think you hit it around the nail. I agree. I mean, there is so much that goes into golf that I don't think a lot of people discuss, or maybe even commentators don't have the time to get into.
Right.
One person you're going to hear it best from is the player himself, if they can actually get somebody to sit down for a 30 for 30 or, whatever it may be. But yeah, man, I think the whole thing of, LIV playing, the Masters, in my humble opinion, I honestly think that some of these players are going to utilize it as a time to kind of start recruiting some new players, maybe even some amateurs who got exemptions from winning their qualifiers or whatever.
I've already heard of a few guys. I think was it David or Daniel Puig, who plays for Arizona State, like one of the top a college golf player sign with LIV right off the bat.
Yeah,
and that would be interesting.
There's going to be somebody there who's going to, they're going to see Patrick Reed, they're going to see Bubba Watson, they're going to see some of those guys, Phil and
Justin.
Somebody's
what's his name?
Something. Yeah,
Justin. It's Justin, right? Justin
Rose.
No,
not Thomas
Johnson. Dustin Johnson. Dustin. I'm blanking.
Dustin.
Sorry, Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson. Yeah, I mean, still, they could say something, but who knows? Right. But one topic I'm kind of dreading talking about is my Michigan versus TCU.
TCU. What a game. What a game. If you're not a fan that was going for a team and you just wanted to watch a good game.
Yeah.
It was a great game to watch. If you had a side and it wasn't Michigan.
Yeah, second game, second half they came alive, but it was just like I projected that Michigan was going to score 45 points, but I did not foresee TCU
expected
51. I was thinking it was going to be 45 to like 37 was my opinion.
Well, think about it, Julio. Think about it. 51 points, right? That's how much TCU scored. They had 2 pick sixes. You take away those pick sixes, and at least they tackle them, like 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards down. That at least could potentially hold in the 6 points instead of 14. And even if you stop them, block the field goal or something like that, that might be an 11-point swing. That could have easily been 39, 37, like you said, right around there.
Yeah.
And like I told you, I texted you. I was like, hey, you guys are down 21-3. But if you guys score some points before the half, no matter if it's 3 points or not, there's a chance. It's not over. If they don't score any points, it's going to be more difficult because there's not like that momentum running into the tunnel and things like that. And they roared back. Yeah. And except for that last play, I was dying because I'm an Ohio State fan on that last play. I was like, the last play of the game, you seriously bad snap it to the quarterback when he's not even paying attention. And you guys actually had a chance per se because everything went backwards and the guy threw it forwards.
We came within like 5 points at one point. We all we need to do is get a touchdown. We were there. We were golden. But I think
you were there, man.
I think what was his name? Matt Leiner? Was it Matt Leiner? No, someone was talking about, Charles Woodson. He said it. He said it best. They just looked real flat, and they looked unprepared in the first half. And to play catch up like that is hard. So I was just, I couldn't disagree. I was like, they did. I mean, even hardball when it came down to the wire, like he just looked so unsure of every play he was calling. He just didn't seem confident. But McCaffrey still had, McCarthy still had a great game.
Yeah, good game, dude. Running the ball.
Edwards still got
he got his
rushing yards. I mean, everyone contributed to the best that they possibly could. It was just TCU was just on a roll.
If you would have said, if I would have told you on Saturday morning that Michigan was going to have 48 points, McCarthy was going to have these stats, the other guys were going to have these stats, you would have taken that in a heartbeat. Been like, I'll take it, dude. Give me those points. No way we lose. No way. Like, no one would think that. And then, what was it? I think it was within like a minute and a half. You guys had timeouts, and Harbaugh wasn't calling a timeout. I was like, dude, it's like 48 seconds ago. Like, why are you not calling a timeout? I'm like, does this guy not know what to do? Like, everyone in their mom who's played Madden could easily be like, dude, timeout here. Like, come on, you're gonna get the clock. You need the clock as much as you can. And I was so surprised. I was jumping out of my chair. I mean, I'm holding my daughter, and I'm like jumping out of my chair, like, call the timeout, and nothing. They're just trying to move it. I'm like, what is going on? Why? Like, you know. And then, but I mean, as an Ohio State fan, like I have a Michigan fan who's always just like, I'd rather have like Ohio State be undefeated. So when we play them, there's a chance to beat them and ruin the undefeated season. I'm like, dude, I don't care. I want Michigan 0-12. I want to play them and just annihilate them. I don't care if they're undefeated or not. I just don't want them to have as good of a year as us.
I think the Peach Bowl game was the best bowl game that Saturday until the Cotton Bowl Classic. In my opinion.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about Ohio State first. So that game was insane. But the fact that Michigan lost, I was already like, yo, you know what? I don't care if we lose 45 to. Yeah. I don't care if we lost 45 to nothing. No, hold on. We got. Yeah, no, I know. But like, I was just like, hey, we weren't expected to win, right? We're the 4th seed. We walked in backwards or whatever, however you want to say it. You know, we weren't given really a chance. We had them on the ropes the whole game until they targeted Harrison Jr. What's his Marvin Harrison Jr. You know, like he was dominant, and we didn't even have our top wide receiver, and he is the nation's best receiver now. But I think it's Smith-Njigba, who's going to be probably like the top wide receiver in the NFL draft this year. He was like, I think he had like a hamstring injury. And he's just like, I'm not going to make it for this year. And he was dominating. They targeted him, I think, in the third quarter. We kind of slowed up a little bit as well, but I don't think it ended up being called. And it was a 3rd down play. He had the touchdown in his hands, and that changed the game completely. Instead of giving us an automatic 1st down at the 1, having them kicking out a guy, that gave them hope, and the rest is history. The kicker swung one left like you and I when we have a duck hook drive. You know, just whoop. Like it just was, it did not. And the crazy thing is, he is a great kicker. Like statistically, one of our better kickers that we've had in Ohio State. And it's like, you wouldn't think that watching that kick. You'd be like, oh, this guy sucks. Why did he kick?
When he kicked it, I thought of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, when the transsexual cop says like
Ray Finkel.
Yeah, Ray Finkel's
the laces were in. Yeah. The laces were in.
No. So literally, I was making jokes like, "Oh man, the laces must have been in or something." But dude, I told you this. I told you this before our call, but literally, right when Georgia's head coach calls timeout, you could see it in the kicker's face. He just had that uncertainty, and I've been there. You know, when I was playing independent ball, and I looked around the stadium, I'm like, "Oh my god, I gotta shake out of this." And so when he like was warming up, keeping that leg warm, then he stops and he looks around, and then he takes his deep breath. I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna miss it." I told my dad, like, he's gonna miss it, and sure enough, he missed it. But yet, I wasn't even rooting for either team. Mm-hmm. Bro, I could feel the souls of everybody just leave
their bodies. Well, dude, have you've seen Waterboy, right?
Waterboy?
Yeah, the classic, right? Waterboy, right? So you know the scene in the very end when they're trying to do their crazy comeback against that annoying team, University of Louisville or whatever, or Louisiana. They're doing an onside kick, and they have the kicker, and he's like, "All right, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Who am I?" You know, you have guys like,
"There's my bitch,"
right. And there's one. Yeah, he's like. The guy's just like looking around, like freaking out. He's like, "That's him." It's probably the same kind of thing that was like going through his mind, man. Just like, oh my gosh, dude. Okay, all right. Just don't duck hook it to the left, and you'll be good.
Security guard that's protecting the cheerleaders,
right? Oh my gosh, but yeah, great games overall. Just excellent games, like to watch. If you didn't have a dog in the fight and you were just watching to watch a good game. Those were high scoring, good defense, but, you know, still high scoring, just great games. And yeah, moving on, man, to what you say, the Cotton Bowl, right? Is that the one with USC and Tulane
versus USC?
Wow. Yeah. What a game. I watched, I think, like the first quarter or two. Was it on a Saturday or a Sunday? Oh, no, it was on the Monday. It was on a Monday. It was on a Monday. That's right. I still had that day off. I was watching a little bit of that. We had to do something else after. But I was like, oh, Tulane was, you know, they have a good year, 11-2. I think they won the American Conference. They were 2-11 the year before. Literally the biggest turnaround in NCAA history if they won the game, which they ended up doing. And they had, I think their running back had like 240 yards, 4 touchdowns, something insane.
And he stopped. The guy was an animal. He was like averaging like 8.5 yards the whole freaking game. I mean,
and that's the thing about USC, dude. Their defense sucks. Their offense kept them as high as they were, but their defense, like if you watch the Utah games that they played against Utah, they lost like 45-42. Like they started 24-7 against Utah, and then lost 54-28 or whatever. Like their defense would just kill them. But that Caleb Williams, man, he is special.
Yep.
His pocket presence is insane. If you just watch him dance around, he's like a kid playing Madden on rookie mode. Just like, oh, you're trying to get me? Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, see, yeah, man. That was
epic.
That was an incredible game. For sure, hands down. I was impressed with Tulane's play the whole way through. Even the Penn State Utah game was a really
good for them until their quarterback got injured. Utah's quarterback when they started.
That was still a really, really good game all the way through.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, I think now TCU and Georgia are in it. So
now, does TCU get smashed, or does Georgia lose because they're overconfident? What's your analysis on that? You think the magic slipper Cinderella story's over?
Yeah, I think it's over. Georgia's a little bit, in my opinion, they're a more mature team. They've been there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And with Bennett as their guy, like
ninth year of eligibility, this guy,
dude, literally, I'm like, this guy's he's got
a grandkid already.
yeah, for sure. But dude, speaking of, what was it, Monday night?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, was it Monday or Tuesday? It was Tuesday game.
Which one?
With in regards to what's his name? Damar.
Damar. Monday Night Football.
Monday, yeah.
Huge, unfortunate, scary situation. My wife was even tearing up. Like she has no, commitments to anything, but she was just scared, crying. Yeah. We prayed, it was there's nothing. I mean, someone mentioned on Twitter, there are two places, maybe more, if you want to consider all professional sports, that if you have a heart attack or you have an issue like that, it's either at a hospital or at an NFL game. Because they have the ambulance there on standby. They have all these professional medical staff ready to go for ankle injuries and things like that. But obviously they're trained for everything else. And it was just scary. You see all these players on the sidelines crying, tearing out, and then someone said that they get what? Oh, guys, that 5 minutes warm up, and then we'll get back on the field. And it's dude, we can't play unless we know if that guy's gonna be okay. There's no way.
I agree, man. I mean, they're for the coaches to take the initiative and say, look, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep playing? We totally understand. We can push this back. We've already gotten the okay. I think that speaks volumes, one, on the NFL, saying hey, we understand how serious these situations are now after everything that's happened. I mean, think about it. If this was 3, 4, maybe even 3, 5, 4 years ago, it'd be a completely different story.
Right.
And now with everything and everyone kind of knowing how serious these things are, it's a big sign of maturity for them to say, hey, it's not just about the money. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our associates and, our players. So that was huge. But yeah, dude, I was kind of paying attention through everything through TikTok and Instagram and seeing how Stephon Diggs went over to the hospital that night, at 12 o'clock at night. He stayed in there. Josh Allen went over there, was the first person actually after they said, hey, we're not going. He literally left in his football pants and his long sleeve or his
undershirt. Yeah.
Long sleeve, and he went, but it was just to me when I was watching the game, first off, it was a great stop. I mean, he got on top of him, got in front of him, made a great stop. But I didn't even realize until I saw the replay when the guy who had the ball picked his head up. I mean, he hit him square, under the jaw, underneath his helmet, and I mean, there's literally no protection under there. So I mean, yeah,
but the fact is, you would expect him to be on the ground after that hit instead of standing up, looking fine, and then just falling.
I told my wife, I said the adrenaline got him up, and all of a sudden he was relaxed, and boom, he fell. Yeah, man. I wish him all the best. I mean, it's great to hear that today. He's breathing better. He's got a lot more stuff under control now. So, his heart rate's getting back to
Right.
normal. They were saying, and all this stuff like that. So, I mean,
You
many
don't want to see that happen to
many
anybody,
blessings.
enemy or not.
Yeah, I wish him a speedy recovery.
Right. And I mean, like, you don't want to see that happen to anybody, no matter what. Like me being an Ohio State fan, you don't want to see it on a Michigan fan. You don't want to see, or a Michigan player, like it's just, it's a life, like they're a son, they're a brother, they're a father, they're, like all like they have a life, and it's just, no one wants to die. No one wants that to be the reason. No mother wants to have to bury their child. That's like, as being a parent now, that's like, to think about that is like scary, like legitimately, because like the love that you have for your kid.
And apparently Demar had a really strong connection with his community as well too. I guess he was like raising toys for tots for the unfortunate.
Oh yeah, the $2,500 that they now have over 5 million in donations and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, apparently this guy gave an arm and a leg, and and everything he did, and apparently really gave as much as he possibly could to communities that were less fortunate, which is, that's great, man. I mean, that's
right. And going back to what we talked about earlier with guaranteed contracts, I heard this little YouTube, or was a Twitter video of someone going over the benefits and things that, you get for the NFL. And like, ever since the recent CBA agreement or whatever they have with the NFL and the players, like, you have to get 2 to 3 years of NFL like experience to potentially, get a, not a stipend. What do they call that? When you get money for like not playing anymore.
A severance?
Like not severance, but like not retirement, but something along those lines of that. What do they call the professors that when they have some tenure, right? Tenure. You get like tenure kind of things. And even if you get tenure, it used to be like $5,500 a month that you would get, but now they dropped it down to $3,000 a month, which to some people, like 3,000 not bad, but like 55, like regardless, they spent so much less. There's also the guaranteed contracts. I think he gets like 500K, but like it's not guaranteed. So like NFL owners, like they do all the time, and they try to make the players look like the bad people. They can easily just void his contract and not pay him. I doubt they will now because of how crazy everything's gotten, how like the whole world is literally waiting to find out what's going to happen with him. Everyone's praying for him. Everyone hopes that everything's going to be okay. He's going to walk. He's going to breathe. He's not going to, have any disabilities or anything with, not being able to breathe for those first few minutes or whatever the CPR happened. But like, that's where the guaranteed contracts kind of really like, especially with a sport like the NFL, like compared to golf, like it's nothing, but a sport like the NFL, like even I think it was the CTE. Remember when the whole CTE thing happened? When that whole thing came out about them like literally like screwing over people. I think there's like 20 to 25% of the cases of CTE are getting paid out. Yeah. They're not even paying out any more than that, even though like they meet the standards of the government payouts, or they meet the other stuff. They, for whatever reason, the NFL is just like, oh, sorry, dude. That doesn't mean our require. Sorry, like the government says you're fine, but like you can pay that, but like we're not going to pay you. And it's ridiculous with how much money the NFL brings up and how much money it makes. You'd be like, why are you not trying to help your players? The NFL owners don't need to get any money. If they make no money from this, they're still billionaires. Like literally, you can make money off of t-shirt sales, off of your $30 beers, off of stadium parking, all the stadium seats, all these. There's so much, the TV deals. You don't even have to pay, like worry about the salaries or anything like that. But like, it's not like your Joe Schmo that owns a 7-Eleven anymore, that owns a football team. They're all billionaires. And to think that, I mean, I've never been rich, like a millionaire. I don't know if I ever will be a millionaire, but they always say, money, more money, more problems, right? That's the whole thing. But I can't say if I was going to be a millionaire or a billionaire that I would be a better person. I don't know what that money will do to me. I could say it right now, like, hey, I would donate. I'd give this money to that. I'd give this money to this. I don't know. I hope I would, but it could change. It's clearly changed these owners. It's clearly changed all these higher ups, that are millionaires and billionaires, but
It's
crazy.
It's in the simplest of terms, you got to think each player is an employee of the NFL.
Right.
Just like how everyone, I don't want to say complains, but just like how everyone vocalizes how corporate America treats employees and how, a 401k is just another, it's just another, it's a what's the word? It's another way for corporations to essentially screw you based off of their earnings or whatever it may be, because we're starting to find out that earnings are fixed, for some companies. So sometimes if you don't take care of that stuff, it's not guaranteed. You're not taken care of. Everyone who says, "Oh, hey, yeah, go start a Roth when you're 25 years old and roll it over into this and start contributing $100 and you'll be a millionaire by the time you're this." Like, do you realize not only do you have a job that you need to give your full undivided attention to, but now you also have to pay attention to that. You need to pay attention to the earnings of your company. You need to pay attention to the drops in your company, invest more into your company, doing all this other stuff. But yet you're doing that. But the problem is that there's 60% of the companies within the United States that don't give two shits about what you do, who you are. It's the truth. You could be a top contributing sales guy. One of the founders to maybe a new technology that they're finding for those 3 months that you found that technology and everyone's like gravitating toward this company and they're starting to see capital, they'll pay you off for whatever it may be, but there's no loyalty to you.
Oh, none. What have you done for me lately?
I heard this quote from Jim Carrey that said, don't give your heart and soul to your job, because if you end up in a box tomorrow, there's a job posting that's listed the same time. So, when it comes to like what Warren Buffett talks about, which is diversifying your money, find ways to do it. One income is one step away from poverty.
Right.
So
for sure, dude.
I don't mean to end the podcast on a negative like that, but guys, we greatly appreciate all guys and girls, all of your support and attention to what we're doing here. Again, we are just two normal dads, just love sports, love talking about golf, love playing golf, want to share that excitement and our authenticity with everyone. Last week we posted a video in regards to having a professional club fitter on board. We appreciate you guys' support there. Just to let you guys know, in the future, we are going to be having a lot more guests. We greatly enjoyed that experience. I think we all have a lot of friends within our network that can bring a lot of value to some of you, as well as us, in helping us continue to grow as fathers, as well as men, and, hopefully open up potential business opportunities. And so again, like, we are bringing some very exciting things, and we greatly appreciate all your guys' love and support. And we wish you a very Merry New Year, and may this year bring you all your blessings and wishes to truth. And we're excited.
Heck yeah. And, if you guys have made it this far, definitely check us out on Instagram and YouTube. If you're listening to this, you might be listening on Spotify, wherever you guys can find your podcast. We are there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. We had a blast talking about, LIV, the Masters, PGA, as well as some of the college football playoffs that happened this weekend, and a little money at the end. That's definitely more of Julio's expertise than mine. So I'm definitely down to learn, but thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week. And like Julio said, hopefully you guys had a good start to your new year. And hopefully you're not one of those people that you already effed up and, 2024 is your year. But, thank you guys for listening and have a good day. Take care.
Night, everyone.